So, with all of the things going on in September, you and I take a little lighter note, and I don't know if it's be lighter note or not, but and talk about some politics. We've got presidential election coming up in over a year. It's still a long way away, but it just seems like the media has been having an awful lot of fun with all the candidates, and there's quite a few of them. So what is your, I guess that first question is, what is your take, maybe not specifically on each candidate, which we'll go through a few of the candidates, but just that I guess the process itself, or the political system, are you believing that it's changing, trying to change? I look at that as the Saturn-Pluto and Saturn, that breaking down that foundation, things need to change, get different. What is your take on just actually the political system? Because it seems this year that it's very different than previous years.
It's very overtly different than previous years. What all across the board, we are seeing where the Uranus-Pluto square of the past 3 years has been pushing us. Those are the two change agents, and they're what have been completely changing the foundation that we've built major aspects of our lives on. As this is happening, Pluto is very slowly moving to the spot that it occupied when the U.S. was created.
Oh, wow.
That will not happen until about 2023, I think. Mm-hmm. What we are witnessing is a huge emerging of a change in, first off, how the political process runs, that plays a propelling role in a change in how this country is structured. So we're seeing seemingly random, radical, rebellious influences coming to the fore, refusing to even acknowledge the earlier ground rules, including the Constitution.
Right.
There are numerous candidates who are making assertions and sending things out into the media that people are buying, that are absolutely misstatements of what is possible under the law, or what's even allowed, what's allowed, what the power of the presidency is. Numerous candidates doing this. So that's one thing. And then we have two players who are just, two in particular, who are absolutely refusing to play the normal game. One of them is getting incredible play. One of them is getting incredible crowds and isn't being treated in the media like he has much of a chance. But interestingly, his chart is linked much more to the equinox than the other person's. So what we're seeing is people coming in who aren't playing by the rules, who are making up their own rules. That's very much Uranus in Aries. There's kind of, in some cases, an absolute dictatorial streak, also Uranus in Aries. I'll just point out that the last time Uranus was in the sign of Aries, which is the Captain Kirk sign, the My Way, I'm going to, Patrick Swayze, My Way to the Highway from Roadhouse, just leaping and then thinking about it. The last time it was in that sign was in the 1930s, which saw the rise of major dictatorial figures all across the country, the globe, for varying reasons. Strong figures taking charge that people looked at. Okay, you solve this problem. So we've got that coming. So there's the loose cannon rogue element to that, and it's still showing how it's a lot of what's happening now is pulling up the corruption, the ownership of the system by big business, and bringing things to light that are also not just that end, but the terrors that underlie a lot of people's existences, and thoughts and fears and prejudices that are still in existence I will point out that Neptune, planet of illusion and sacrifice, is in recent years moved into the sign that it occupied during the Civil War. And lo and behold, there are all these beliefs coming to light that seem to, the contesting of what the Civil War was about, fighting that it was even over. That's one. There are all these battles, all these different topics that we have intellectually been proceeding since the late 60s on the basis of these are solved, and they're being hammered and hammered and hammered. Like, no, they're not. No, they're not. Big segments of the population refuse to acknowledge that things are any different, and they're trying to take things back, move the game board around. So this is all going on, and all of these factors are coming up and will influence this election like crazy.
Oh, wow.
Like crazy. So the most vocal of the candidates is a mouthpiece for a lot of this. And he absolutely is. He's claiming he's an outsider, but in some ways he is, in some ways he's not.
Okay, so let's talk about him then and get his, you've got his chart, we've got his chart. That would be Donald Trump, correct?
That would be Donald Trump. And I don't normally follow this kind of stuff astrologically or pay attention to it, but at the Leo new moon in August, I noticed what degree it was, and I thought, oh, this is fascinating. And I looked at his chart, and he had, at that time, an astrological configuration called a grand trine being set off in his chart by that moon. And connecting to Uranus and Aries. So he's part of the rebel, loose cannon, I'm going to just do this, I don't care what you say the ground rules are, attitude. And it played into Mars in his chart, which is in the late degrees of Leo, and his Sagittarius moon. A Sag moon is here, there, whoop, can't pin them down. They're going to do whatever they're going to do. They can be very, very jingoistic, and it opposes his Gemini sun. Gemini can be many things, can say this, can say that, can leap around, can be very hard to pin down. So a full moon baby Gemini Sagittarius can say something one day and then refuse to even admit the next day that it said it. So that's fun. I find that interesting. He was born with, and his birth time is verified. He was born with the ascendant, the sign rising on the horizon at the very last degree of Leo, almost the last couple of minutes of Leo.
Wow.
Which is, so he presents himself as, I am the king. It was when he was born, it was on top of the fixed star Regulus, which is royalty. So he just exudes inherited power. Gee, he's the son of a major real estate developer. He did not build his empire. He inherited the beginning of it, with Mars, the planet of shove, right on top of that. So what I see going on with him, Jupiter in Virgo is moving through his house of identity. He's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and more grandiose, as difficult as that is for some of us to imagine, until Jupiter slams that full moon. And that's thing one. Thing two, as Saturn moves through into Sagittarius, by about November, it's going to cross Lilith in his chart. Not something I normally pay attention to, but Lilith is Adam's first wife. Who among you is not aware that Adam had a first wife? Lilith is the ultimate feminine power cast aside. And you know the thing about a woman scorned and what that is, ... I think there will be massive paying the piper when that happens. And we will increasingly be seeing the real world ramifications of what he's been saying. as we get into the fall, once Venus goes direct and once Saturn moves into Sagittarius. And we're already starting to see people getting whipped up to running around screaming at Hispanic individuals to go back to their own country when they're U.S. citizens. There will be repercussions from some of his language. I honestly don't think he has the stick-to-itiveness to actually claim the nomination and take the job. But he's serving a phenomenal purpose, a phenomenal role in blowing up the way things have been done.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So now, who else do we have a chart? Think the other one that you were thinking is kind of under the current Bernie Sanders. Is that who you were talking about?
Yes. I am very surprised. We don't have a birth time for him, so I can't give you his ascendant. However, he has 3 placements in Virgo. Jupiter, planet of expansion, now in Virgo. In October, March, and then June, Jupiter is going to cross his sun. I don't think he's going away. It's in December, February, and August. Jupiter is going to cross his north node. That's his relationship to the public. That's his path of destiny, his relationship to the collective. And he has an Aries moon. He has the moon where Uranus has been, and Uranus has been back and forth, but so he's got Uranus on his moon, and his moon is conjunct Mars, the ruler of Aries. This man is a fighter. This is like he's got like an internal combustion engine that just makes him fight. He does not take no for an answer. And with Uranus on top of that and continuing to move across that, anything could happen with him. But I will mention that he's the only candidate who has a link to the equinox chart. His Mercury, his communication skills, right on top of the Sun North Node conjunction in the equinox chart. So, the media may not be reporting much on what he's doing, but his message is going to speak to more and more people and get across more and more and more, whether it completely outside the normal political machinery. So he's showing a different way of doing things from a different angle.
Right, and there's 2 people outside the normal system of what you're used to, and doing it in 2 completely different ways. Bernie
Sanders has Mercury in Libra, so he's a born negotiator also. He understands how to even with his moon in Aries, which, it can kick you in the teeth with that kind of power, but with Mercury in Libra, he understands the need to phrase things in a way, to phrase them in your opposition's language, to negotiate, to get people to come to the table, to get compromise, and to say things in a way that people are going to grasp, not inflame them. He doesn't throw firebombs at people and make them go out and harm other individuals. He's actually trying to restructure the social contract.
Yeah, very, very interesting. So now, then, let's look at somebody who has been in the normal political system. I don't know if you want to call it normal, but the system, kind of what I call old school, has been there, is doing it the same way. There's no change. Hillary Clinton. What does her chart have to say for us?
First thing I want to say about her chart is that it's not known whether she was born AM or PM. A birth time is known, and that changes the vibe completely. I am going to go with the AM chart because that gives her Scorpio rising and has a number of things on the Scorpio ascendant, which would account for people hating her so much, making her a projection screen for. People are scared and associating her with death and with murder and with scandal, whether or not she has anything to do with it or not. And she might, I don't know, but that would account for the fact that people have really strong reactions to her. The other birth time gives her Gemini rising, which is just too la 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 la. I'm sorry, I can't go with that. So if we go with the earlier chart, the earlier time, several really important things. she has Jupiter moving across her midheaven, which is the doorway to your public life, and moving through her midheaven. I'm not ruling out her getting the nomination. I'm not ruling out her getting the office with this, actually.
Oh, wow.
And there are other astrologers saying that because the September eclipse happens in her public life. It happens in her 10th house. And yeah, that's pretty major. She'll have Saturn moving, she'll have Saturn moving through her first house because her ascendant is in the 2/3 of the way through Scorpio. So as Saturn's already been there as in the first house, but as it moves into Sag, it will cross Jupiter in her chart in the 2/3 of the way, right before the equinox. Okay, right before the equinox, it'll cross Jupiter. So she might take control of things in a big, big, big way, or who knows? Maybe these things that keep being brought up, the scandal of the week, will just get bigger and bigger, and maybe there'll be some ramification. But I don't see that stopping her campaign at all. She's got Pluto in the second house of personal resources. The system is behind her. Right, she works in the system with the system.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Which it may take to get a woman in the White House at this point. I don't know.
Yeah, which we just have a few minutes left. That, having said that, with a woman in the White House, there was one question. This is just coming from nowhere. To get your thoughts on that. That as you had said, we seem to be rediscussing old issues, and then with some other issues, there's been progress made, like with gays and lesbian, and with marriage equality and all of that. And it's such a positive, such a positive. Where is it that with women and women's rights and all of that, that we just keep hitting a block wall, that we're rehashing things that we thought we had taken care of 40 years ago? Anything astrologically? Is it as a nation? Is it?
I think that has a lot to do with the hammering away at Pluto in Capricorn. I think that legislation was put in place that didn't match a lot of the emotional development, and that there are certain parts of society, as with racism suddenly being the flavor du jour, that have been just chewing away, and it's been festering, and it's coming up in a bad, bad way. The fact that this was legislated, the fact that, honestly, the fear of the feminine, astonishing. And I would say this Venus retrograde really brought a lot of stuff to light about that. Venus retrograde at the squaring Saturn in Scorpio for part of it. So it brought the utter terror of the female, feminine, to light. Like, okay, this little nasty is still floating around in there. And that's another thing we're going to work on. It's so funny. I've seen a meme floating around Facebook about, okay, now that we're now that the gays aren't responsible for everything anymore, now it's, and there's like this list. So
which one are we going to cross off next?
So there's with the terrors that are coming to light, it's not that they came out of nowhere. They've been there. It's like the monsters under the bed or in the closet are coming out, and they have a voice. And these things have been there. They've been festering. And it's the last gasp of things that haven't wanted to admit that they're there. Because honestly, millennials, I'm not seeing these types of prejudices across the board in millennials, especially.
I agree. Yeah.
Males treat women differently. That age group, like they're all pack animals running together in a pack. That's a generalization, but
and it's very true. I agree with that, and that's what gives me hope. And that's where my thing, politically thinking, like with Hillary Clinton, I thought, I don't think she's going to be able to pull it. There's still something female that I don't know if it's time yet. I mean, of course, I think it's time for a female. It's always been time, but I don't know. That's one that it just seems we just keep getting bashed back.
Oh, utter terror of, I brought you into this world, I can take you out. Do I have time for one to tie
Yes.
this all together? All right.
Yes.
What we're seeing now is an activation of a seed that was planted in the late 60s. In the late 60s, between 65, 68, around that, Uranus and Pluto were conjunct in, what sign? Virgo, which is where Jupiter is now. And so now that they are now that they've been squaring, and they're going to continue to travel in this challenging aspect loosely, but they're moving apart, but still. They've been squaring for the past 3 years, which forces action. They have been forcing action on the values and the new vision of how things could be structured. That was planted in the 60s.
Oh, very interesting.
So that's a big thing that's going on now. And when you do that, all of the decay and the fear and the festering ickies come out.
Right. Yeah.
For airing. I'm just a little concerned about how many people they're going to really seriously damage before they get calmed down.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. So it is kind of close to the end of the hour. Is there any last loose little ties, or we're good? It's all about Virgo, it seems. Virgo.
Oh, I'll leave it with this seemingly trite, very meaningful statement, which is, remember when you get on the airplane, you're told if cabin pressure drops to put your air mask on first.
Right.
Then deal with your passengers if they need assistance. That is the overriding image with this. It is not... Healthy self-regard is what is called for now. Perfect. Taking care of yourself now is utterly necessary to be of use and service to the rest of the world.
Great. Well, that's
no more
fabulous.
Sacrifice.
Yeah.
Or I'll sit in the dark. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, that's a great note to end it on. I want to thank you so much for joining us. As I said, it has come to the end of the hour here on our Astrology, Symbolism, and Myth program. I want to thank Kathy, and I want to make sure that everybody knows her website, which is empowermentunlimited.net. That's when. Make sure you get the .net on there. Get on her website. It is filled with fabulous articles, a lot of podcasts. Get on her email list so that you can get her email that comes out every week and find out what's going on. I also want to thank my crew here at RVTV. And I also want to thank everybody for watching. Be sure to watch us again next month. So goodbye for now.